and George Harrison shared a close friendship for years, but shortly before Russell's death, he opened up about a side of his late friend that few had ever seen. Was it tied to Harrison's personal life, the mysterious attack he endured, or even his death? Join us as we uncover the truth behind Russell's powerful revelation. Leon Russell and George Harrison's quiet bond. During the late 1960s and early 1970s, two artists, George Harrison and Leon Russell, formed a meaningful connection in the vibrant music world. George Harrison, the reflective ex-Beatle, and Leon Russell, the skilled piano player from Oklahoma, shared a love for music that brought them together in a quiet but powerful friendship. Their bond was built on respect, similar values, and a passion for music that touched the soul. Leon Russell and George Harrison met during the vibrant music scene of the late 1960s. This era was filled with creativity, change, and musicians collaborating with each other. Artists from diverse backgrounds were crossing paths in recording studios and concert venues, which is where Harrison and Russell crossed paths. Harrison's solo career was marked by exploring a spiritual and personal journey, and he sought fellow artists who shared his vision. Russell, renowned for his exceptional piano skills and songwriting, had collaborated with artists from various genres. His music had soul, and Harrison quickly felt drawn to his warm spirit. Their mutual admiration was natural. Harrison admired Russell's versatility in playing different music styles effortlessly, from gritty rock to gentle gospel. Russell, on the other hand, was impressed by Harrison's quiet strength and his intention to use music for a positive impact. They were also drawn together by a common interest in seeking deeper meaning. Both were on spiritual journeys that focused on kindness, humility, and serving others. While Harrison embraced Indian philosophy, meditation, and prioritized something beyond fame, Russell quietly shared the same desire to make a meaningful difference through his talents. In 1971, Harrison organized the Concert for Bangladesh, which became a special bond. The concert was one of the earliest big charity concerts ever held. It aimed to help the millions of people in East Pakistan, now Bangladesh, who were facing hardship because of war and natural calamities. Motivated by the suffering and with support from his friend Ravi Shankar, Harrison took the initiative to bring together some of the most renowned musicians in the world for a night of solidarity and common cause. When Harrison needed reliability and talent, he turned to Leon Russell, who also brought heart to the table. Russell quickly made the decision to join the group of performers, which consisted of Bob Dylan, Ringo Starr, Billy Preston, and Eric Clapton. Despite being among these well-known musicians, Russell managed to stand out. With his long hair and top hat, he created a memorable presence when he took the stage at Madison Square Garden. His performance was exceptional and left a lasting impression on the audience. He performed a mix of Jumpin' Jack Flash and Young Blood on the piano, blending rock and rhythm that excited the audience. Russell sang with passion and played the piano with skill during this medley. The performance was energetic, joyful, and soulful. It was a standout moment of the night, demonstrating the importance of Russell's presence to the success of the concert. However, Russell's contribution to the Concert for Bangladesh went beyond just his performance. Harrison had faith in him, believing that Russell would deliver something impactful and significant. This trust was well placed, as Russell's presence on stage not only energized the audience, but also served as a reminder of the purpose of the event: to provide assistance to those in need. The concert was a pivotal moment. It wasn't just about the music, it was about the impact music could have. For Harrison and Russell, it represented their beliefs. It was about using their skills for more than just fame or fortune. It was about providing, comforting, and uplifting others. Russell continued to make an impact even after the show ended. The album and movie of the concert helped raise a lot of money for Bangladesh and also influenced other benefit concerts globally. His performance left a lasting impression on both the audience who saw it live and those who watched it later. It was more than just a show, it touched people deeply. Leon Russell and George Harrison had a close friendship that was low-key and respectful. They did not feel the need to always be seen together. Their bond was built on understanding, kindness, and a mutual belief in using music for positive purposes. Even though they came from different backgrounds, they both saw music as something special to be shared with others. In the following years, they went their separate ways but stayed close. They met at a time when the world needed help and generously shared their talents. This kind gesture made an impact on those they aided and on each other. Leon Russell and George Harrison had a close and meaningful friendship that was like a soft and steady song. Their bond did not need to be flashy to be strong. It was evident in their music, shared experiences, and the impact of the concert for Bangladesh. Even now, when people see their performance or hear their songs, they can sense the warmth and connection between these two kind-hearted individuals. It started as a friendship based on music, but it evolved into something more meaningful. A shared belief that being kind and creative can positively impact the world. Their connection continues to resonate even today. To understand the reason behind Russell's powerful revelation, we need to look at their lives before they met. The life of Leon Russell. Leon Russell was born Claude Russell Bridges on April 2, 1942, in Lawton, Oklahoma, as the second son of John Griffith and Hester Evil Bridges. Music played a significant role in his life from a young age. He became a highly influential musician in American history. Throughout his six-decade career, Russell made a lasting impact on various music genres such as rock and roll, gospel, country, rhythm and blues, folk, and the distinctive Tulsa sound. Russell's talent was evident from the beginning. As a young pianist, he collaborated with famous bands like the Beach Boys, the Ventures, and Jan and Dean. His fingers effortlessly played the piano, bringing a touch of magic to every song. In 1970, he debuted his first album with an impressive guest list that included Eric Clapton, Ringo Starr, and George Harrison, making it a truly unique and extraordinary project. Leon did not just perform music, he crafted music that deeply impacted audiences. He penned the song Delta Lady for Joe Cocker and played a pivotal role in arranging the iconic Mad Dogs and Englishmen tour. One of his most cherished tunes, A Song for You, has been covered by over 200 musicians and continues to resonate with its heartfelt lyrics. Another popular track, This Masquerade, has been recorded by more than 75 artists. These songs were not just popular, they were enduring messages of love, yearning, and the human experience. Over time, Russell released 33 albums and composed 430 songs. He achieved 6 gold records and was nominated for 7 Grammy Awards, winning 2. In 1973, he was recognized as the top concert performer worldwide by Billboard. This acknowledgement highlighted his talent in attracting crowds through heartfelt music rather than flashy performances. In 2011, he was inducted into both the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Songwriters Hall of Fame, honoring the impactful nature of his music. Leon Russell wasn't just a solo artist, but also a talented collaborator who worked with famous musicians like Bob Dylan, Frank Sinatra, Ike and Tina Turner, and the Rolling Stones. His skills in playing, writing, and producing made all the artists he worked with shine even brighter. Even Elton John admired and learned from him, considering him a mentor and a source of inspiration. In 2010, they released an emotional album called The Union Together, which received a Grammy nomination and was a special highlight in Russell's later career. Leon had a loving family life with 6 children who were a big part of his legacy. As he got older, he dealt with health problems, having heart surgery and battling serious illness. Sadly, in 2016, he peacefully passed away in his sleep at his home in Mount Juliet, Tennessee, at 74 years old. His funeral took place in the small town where he lived, and a public memorial was held in Tulsa, the city that was most connected to his music. He was buried at Memorial Park Cemetery, surrounded by the familiar surroundings and people who had influenced his life. George Harrison, the hidden force behind the Beatles. George Harrison was born in Liverpool on February 25, 1943, at 12 Arnold Grove in Wavertree. He became a well-known English musician, singer, and songwriter worldwide. Harrison was the lead guitarist for the Beatles and was appreciated for his peaceful demeanor and musical talent. Despite not always being the center of attention, he had a significant impact on the band's music and overall vibe. Although John Lennon and Paul McCartney were the primary songwriters for the Beatles, George also made significant contributions with some of their most memorable songs. Starting in 1965, several Beatles albums included at least 2 original compositions by George. These songs, such as Taxman, Within You Without You, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, Something, and Here Comes the Sun, showcased his unique style and added layers of emotion to the band's music. George's vocals also brought a special quality to each song he worked on. Harrison found inspiration in a variety of musicians. At first, he enjoyed listening to George Formby and Django Reinhardt. Then, he looked up to artists such as Carl Perkins, Chet Atkins, and Chuck Berry. Over time, his music taste shifted towards folk rock and Indian classical music. Upon finding the sitar during the making of the movie Help, he incorporated it into Beatles songs like Norwegian Wood. This brought fresh sounds to Western pop music and exposed audiences to new music styles. George also became interested in spiritual practices. In 1967, he introduced the Beatles to transcendental meditation. He then became heavily involved with the Hare Krishna movement. His fascination with Indian culture and religion became a significant part of his identity, influencing both his music and personal life. After the Beatles split up, Harrison put out a triple album titled All Things Must Pass. It was very popular and featured his well-known solo song, My Sweet Lord. His use of the slide guitar gave his solo music a distinct sound. In 1971, he collaborated with Indian musician Ravi Shankar to plan the concert for Bangladesh, which was one of the earliest big charity concerts in music history. George was not just involved in music, he also made movies and started his music label called Dark Horse Records. In 1988, he was part of forming the Traveling Wilburys, which was a band made up of very talented musicians who were also his friends. He worked with famous artists such as Bob Dylan, Eric Clapton, Ringo Starr, and Tom Petty. George Harrison left behind a wonderful legacy that showcased his gentle nature, strong beliefs, and quiet resilience in shaping contemporary music. He received accolades in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, both as a part of the Beatles and for his solo work. His life was a tranquil path marked by heartfelt music, profound significance, and enduring love. What were Harrison's spiritual beliefs, and how did they impact his career and the way people perceived him? A spiritual journey beyond the music. In the mid-1960s, George Harrison started becoming interested in Indian culture and spirituality. He shared his growing passion with the other members of the Beatles after meeting Swami Vishnu Devananda while filming Help in the Bahamas. The Swami gave them all signed copies of his yoga book, which had a big impact on George. After the Beatles finished touring in 1966, George chose to go to India with his wife, Pattie Boyd. During their time there, he learned to play the sitar from Ravi Shankar, met knowledgeable mentors, and explored numerous holy places. This journey marked a fresh start for him. In 1968, He, along with the other Beatles, went to Rishikesh to study meditation under Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, further immersing themselves in Eastern spiritual practices. Those who knew George well mentioned that trying LSD at a young age played a surprising part in sparking his curiosity about spiritual topics. They remembered him saying that it made him feel like something inside him had been awakened, something he thought had always been present. Following those first experiences, he couldn't stop thinking about yogis, the Himalayas, and Ravi Shankar's music. However, this period did not continue for very long. When he visited the Haight-Ashbury neighborhood in San Francisco, everything changed. George was reportedly disheartened by what he witnessed there and made the decision to completely step away from the illegal substance culture. From that point on, he no longer had any interest in LSD. In 1966, Ravi Shankar gave George some religious books. Those books had a lasting impact on him. After that, George frequently talked about the teachings of Swami Vivekananda and Paramahansa Yogananda. These spiritual leaders became significant influences in his life. In 1969, George created a song called Hare Krishna Mantra for the London Radha Krishna Temple. He also assisted the temple's followers in finding housing and a place to worship in the UK. During that year, he met their spiritual leader, Swami Prabhupada, whom he admired as a close friend and excellent teacher. As time went on, George started chanting with beads and embraced the Hare Krishna tradition wholeheartedly. His commitment extended beyond just spiritual beliefs. In 1972, he generously gave his home in Lechmore Heath to followers of Krishna. This house was then transformed into a temple known as Bhaktivedanta Manor. George was known for his respect towards other religions. People close to him mentioned that he thought all faiths were connected to one greater truth. He saw Krishna as an actual historical figure. It took him some time to comprehend Krishna's significance in the sacred scripture Bhagavad Gita. With the guidance of Yogananda, George eventually came to see life as a journey, where the body served as a chariot and the soul as the traveler. He believed that seeking help from a higher power, whether it be Krishna, Christ, or Buddha, was the key to navigating through life. Experts observed that George's personal journey represented a change in public perception of musicians. His experience demonstrated that pop stars can also be intellectuals, soul searchers, and spiritual guides, not just performers. As a reflection of his spiritual beliefs, George stopped eating meat in the late 1960s and remained a vegetarian for the rest of his life. His friends mentioned that he frequently talked about how being a vegetarian brought him peace and mental clarity, and he also suggested that others give it a try. George Harrison's life was about more than just being famous or making music. It was a gentle journey in search of deeper meaning, seeking light, truth, and love in a quiet way. Despite his fame, Harrison's life wasn't limited to his career and spirituality. He also had numerous interests and a family. Family, love, and passions. George Harrison's life was full of music, love, and a quiet desire for peace. He got married to model Pattie Boyd in 1966. They had first met 2 years earlier while filming A Hard Day's Night. Pattie played a schoolgirl, and George, who was always shy but charming, proposed during a lunch break. Their love started strong but eventually faded. They faced issues and eventually separated in 1974 and finalized their divorce in 1977. Pattie mentioned that George had changed, and his multiple affairs, including one with Ringo Starr's wife Maureen, made it too difficult for her to stay. Their last year together was troubling, with lots of parties, drinking, and illegal substance use, which she believed made George distant and cold. After leaving George, Pattie began a new phase of her life with musician Eric Clapton, whom she later married. Shortly after that, George met a new person. Olivia Arias was an employee at a record company, and initially talked to George on the phone about business matters. They eventually met face-to-face in Los Angeles in 1974, and their relationship gradually deepened. They tied the knot on 2 September 1978, just a month prior to the birth of their son, Donnie Harrison. Olivia brought a sense of comfort and peace to George's life, and they remained a committed couple through the various challenges they faced together. George felt very comfortable at home. He resided at Friar Park, a lovely old house in the English countryside. He put a lot of effort into restoring the house and tending to the gardens. In order to maintain the extensive grounds, which covered 36 acres, he hired a team of 10 people. Gardening was more than just a hobby for George, it was a way for him to escape from the outside world. He found great peace among the flowers and trees. His garden even graced the cover of his famous solo album, All Things Must Pass. In his autobiography, George dedicated the book to gardeners everywhere, to show how much joy working on the earth brought him. Aside from music and gardening, George had a strong interest in fast cars. His love for motor racing began in his childhood when he attended his first race at the age of 12. The excitement of that experience stayed with him. He amassed a collection of photos, followed renowned drivers, and acquired rare cars over time. One of his prized possessions, a stylish 1964 Aston Martin, was eventually sold at an auction for £350,000. Additionally, he penned a song titled Faster as a tribute to racing icons Jackie Stewart and Ronnie Peterson, donating the song's earnings to a cancer charity. Even though most people recognize him as a member of the Beatles, George had a more low-key life that revolved around love, heartbreak, recovery, and finding joy in simple pleasures. Whether he was tending to his garden, spending time with loved ones, or racing cars, he always looked for significance in the small, serene moments of life. What kind of attack was Harrison a victim of? And did it have any connection to his death 2 years later? Keep on watching to find out more. A night that changed everything. On the night of December 30, 1999, George Harrison and his wife Olivia were at their home, Friar Park, not knowing their peaceful life was about to be disrupted. A 34-year-old man named Michael Abram, who was later revealed to have paranoid schizophrenia, broke into their house and attacked George with a kitchen knife without any warning. People who knew the Harrisons mentioned that the intruder had no relationship with them and did not seem to want money or attention. The violence seemed to happen without reason. George sustained serious injuries, including a punctured lung and multiple head injuries. Later, friends revealed that George had expressed feeling helpless during the attack and thought he might not make it out alive. Olivia showed amazing courage even though she was shocked. People who knew the family said she used whatever she could, like a lamp or a fireplace poker, to fight off the attacker and save her husband's life. Medical professionals who cared for George verified that he had received over 40 stab wounds and needed to have part of his lung removed. Despite his injuries, George maintained his kind and gentle demeanor during his recovery. His loved ones mentioned that he remained composed and wise when discussing life, despite the trauma he endured. People who were familiar with him observed that George was different after that night. He seemed healthy and energetic before the incident, but afterwards, his close friends thought that the experience had altered him in some way. Some people in his social circle speculated that the stress from the event might have impacted his health, potentially leading to a relapse of his illness. Many years later, after leaving a mental health facility, Michael Abram admitted feeling intense sorrow. He wished he could take back what happened and hoped that the Harrison family would eventually forgive him. After the attack, despite still having scars, a lot of people thought George and Olivia's connection was even stronger than before. Their love, strength, and calmness during that difficult time left a lasting impact on everyone who knew them. George Harrison's last journey. In May 2001, it was revealed that George Harrison had surgery to remove a cancerous spot from his lung. Shortly after, it was announced that he was being treated for a brain tumor in Switzerland. Ringo Starr visited him while he was there, but had to leave early because his daughter needed emergency brain surgery in Boston. Despite being weak, George asked Ringo if he wanted him to come along. In November of the same year, George began receiving radiotherapy in New York City for his lung cancer that had spread to his brain. George was upset when the public learned about his treatment details, feeling betrayed by his doctor for not keeping it confidential. After he passed away, his family filed a legal complaint over the breach of privacy. George Harrison passed away on November 29, 2001, at Paul McCartney's home in Beverly Hills, California. He was 58 years old. His last moments were calm and filled with love, as he was surrounded by his wife Olivia, son Donnie, Ravi Shankar, Sukanya, Anushka, and close friends Shama Sundar Das and Mukunda Goswami from the Hare Krishna community. They recited verses from the Bhagavad Gita as George passed away. George wanted everyone to remember a message before he passed away. He believed that the most important thing in life was to search for God. He also wanted people to show love for each other. After George passed away, his body was turned into ashes at Hollywood Forever Cemetery. The ceremony to remember him was at the Self-Realization Fellowship Lake Shrine, which is a calm place in California. His relatives then went to India without attracting attention. They honored him by spreading his ashes in the holy rivers Ganges and Yamuna, which is a custom in Hindu culture. In his written instructions after his death, he left almost 100 million pounds. But more importantly, he left a legacy of kindness and a soul that impacted many people globally. Now let's take a look at Russell's revelation about Harrison. How will this change the way their relationship is viewed? Leon Russell's reflections on George Harrison. During his later years, Leon Russell would often talk about George Harrison with a sense of peace and nostalgia. Their friendship began during the exciting times of the music industry's golden years, and Russell's recollections of Harrison were always affectionate and heartfelt, even as time went by. As Russell's health worsened and he made fewer public appearances, his words about Harrison became even more meaningful. Whenever he discussed Harrison, it was always with admiration, esteem, and a hint of reverence. Russell did not just think highly of George Harrison as a musician. He believed Harrison had a unique soul and carried himself with spiritual grace. In the 2000s and 2010s, Russell had become more reflective and thoughtful compared to his days as a dynamic performer on big stages. His thoughts on Harrison also became more mature and introspective during this time. He admired Harrison for being a deep thinker who carried a lot of emotional weight, even though most people only knew him as the guitar player from the Beatles. Russell was struck by something about Harrison's demeanor. He would frequently mention that Harrison was not motivated by selfishness, despite deserving praise. Harrison did not seek fame or attention, despite being well known. He was generous and kind in his relationships and collaborations, always offering help without seeking recognition. Russell, who had worked with many artists, appreciated Harrison's unique approach of giving without expecting anything in return. Harrison stood out as a rare artist who gave selflessly. Russell not only admired Harrison's personality, but also appreciated his work after the Beatles. He particularly loved Harrison's solo career, which showcased a different side of him with gentle melodies and introspective lyrics. Russell often talked about the beauty in Harrison's music, noting how it came from a place of quiet reflection. He viewed Harrison's solo albums as personal and intimate, almost like musical prayers. Russell recognized the courage required to create such honest music. Russell greatly admired how Harrison used his music to connect different worlds. Harrison was not just a songwriter, but a trailblazer who combined music with a deeper meaning. He brought Eastern philosophy into mainstream music at a time when it was uncommon. Harrison introduced millions of people to new perspectives, instruments, and spiritual ideas. To Russell, this was not just about being creative, but also about being brave. He thought Harrison was ahead of his time, daring to explore introspection in a world filled with distractions. Russell admired Harrison's activism and how he did not just talk about helping others, but took action through concerts, donations, and direct involvement. Russell, who had experienced the positive and negative aspects of fame, was touched by Harrison's choice to use his influence for the greater good. Harrison had the potential to be a rock star, but instead, he became a servant leader who aimed to uplift others. As Russell got older and his health worsened, he did not make as many public appearances. However, in his final interviews, his words held even more significance. He selected his subjects with care, often revisiting the memory of George Harrison. It wasn't always about the major events or well-known partnerships. Sometimes it was simply a gentle word, a moment of quiet, or a small gesture of kindness from Harrison that stuck with him through the years. In the last part of his life, Russell found solace in recalling the individuals who had impacted him deeply, and Harrison was one of them. He talked about how Harrison had a lasting impact on his thoughts, his music, and his perspective on the world. It was evident that Harrison had left something meaningful behind, something that went beyond just a song or a performance. It was a sense of emotion, a spirit, a way of living. As Russell's journey came to an end, he remembered his friend George Harrison as someone who had a quiet strength and wise nature. To Russell, George Harrison was more than just a famous musician. He was a generous soul who lived a meaningful life and left behind a beauty that words could hardly capture. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.